Brett Favre and Minnesota hosting the Packers, the Cheeseheads still coming to terms with their breakup with number 4. The Milwaukee Burger Company had planned to host a burning party during halftime, urging fans to bring their Favre memorabilia to be set ablaze, of course raising money for charity. Well, the Eau Claire Fire Department snuffed that idea out, saying that only one lone cotton jersey can actually be torched. As for how fired up the Packers are, here's Wendy Nix in Green Bay. Good morning, Wendy. What are the Packers saying about Monday night?
Good morning, Hannah. What a long, strange trip it has been. The Packers are doing everything possible to make this week as normal as it can be. In fact, today will be the first day players are available to the media. Head coach Mike McCarthy did say this week, though, he will tell his team to draw on their experiences from a year and a half ago. You know, it was a virtual circus here during that training camp, and players were forced to learn to deal with the distractions. Aaron Rodgers especially was served a particularly large dose of Favre mania and handled it well. So my expectations would be he is well prepared for this week.
Wendy, what's the buzz there in Green Bay?
Well, as if the bonfire to burn Favre memorabilia isn't enough, take a look at this. We enter as Exhibit B. This is an editorial cartoon from yesterday's local paper depicting a Favre senior moment. This was a town for much of last summer, the summer before, divided over the Brett Favre issue, but no longer. It's not a surprise for the Packer fans as he's in Minnesota. Even before he went to the Jets, Brett Favre made it clear he wanted to play for the Vikings. But I was here yesterday on the ground talking to a lot of Packer fans who tell me now that this week is actually here, it will be surreal to see Brett Favre wearing purple.
Wendy, by the way, a brave choice of wardrobe by you today, sporting the purple.
I did think of that a little bit too late, I'm afraid.
I'm sure you did. All right, that is Wendy Nix in Green Bay, not Minnesota. We do go to Minnesota now, as Favre has gone, as Wendy pointed out, to the worst of all possible places, the hated Vikings and those vintage last-second heroics, putting him at 3-0 on the season. With a win, the Packers can tie Minnesota atop the NFC North. As we go to Rachel Nichols now. Rachel, how big is this game from the Vikings' perspective?
Yeah, well, you can see there's a big storm raging behind me, but that hasn't done anything to dampen the excitement around here. In fact, Brett Favre was with his family at the original Pancake House having breakfast the other day, and people just kept coming up to him saying they wanted him to win this game, that they were behind him, and his teammates feel the same way. You remember at the beginning of the season, there was all that talk of, gee, is this a divided locker room? What do the players think? Well, if there were any holdouts, there aren't any more after that last pass that he won the game with on Sunday. The guys here are very excited. In fact, Coach Brad Childress, much like Wendy just talked about in Green Bay, has that task of tamping down the guys here, tamping down the excitement, having them focus on football. He said earlier this week, hey, we're going to be focused. It's not like the building here is vibrating or anything, but anyone who's been in the Metrodome knows that building vibrates, and it's going to be plenty loud on Monday night.
Well, what's the atmosphere at Winter Park in anticipation of this game?
Yeah, as I said, I mean, guys are sort of just starting to filter in, and they're knowing that, hey, they've got to study film, they've got to study a game plan. This can't just be about Brett Favre. And players are saying they're using this as a measuring stick game for them. They're undefeated, but they want to know how they're going to match up against a team in their division that is as good as they think that the Packers are.
And how is Brett Favre approaching the game and all of the attention surrounding it?
It's big for him. There's no doubt about it. He certainly wants to win. Now, it is different than it was a year and a half ago. If this had happened last season, he would have been so much more focused on it. As Wendy said, he was telling people in Green Bay, hey, I want to go play for Minnesota. His last face-to-face meeting with Coach Mike McCarthy, he said, I want to go to Minnesota if you guys can't use me here. It was really about beating the Vikings and doing better than them in the division. This summer when he was coming back, the conversation was a lot different. He even said, look, I can't just come back for 2 games. He was talking about making a 4, 5, 6 month commitment. He said, I can't just do that because I want to beat the Packers for 2 games. He's not as focused on that. That being said, he sure does want to win, and he knows that it's going to be emotional for him. This is a guy who appreciates the game, who appreciates his own history, and when he sees those green and gold uniforms coming at him, he knows that he's going to have a little bit of those butterflies in his stomach.
Rachel Nichols, great job braving the elements this morning. We appreciate it, as always. Thanks.
No problem.
So this friendly reminder, Packers and Vikings Monday night at the Metrodome. Coverage begins on ESPN at 7 o'clock with Monday Night Countdown.